down to business.
When he drinks, he thinks.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled, liquid-lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings Broadcast, and tonight is Armed Forces Day, the celebration. That's right. Today is Armed Forces Day, and for those of you that may not quite fully grasp the concept of the 3 separate days that we have here in America, Armed Forces Day is for those who are currently serving. Okay. Memorial Day, which is coming up at the end of May, is for those who have lost their life doing, defending this country, doing their duty in defending this country. And the Veterans Day, which happens in November, I believe, if I can remember correctly, I think it's November 11th. Veterans Day is to thank a veteran for their service, veterans such as myself. So today it's all about those who are currently serving. Now, I hope that you've enjoyed today. I certainly did. Out here, we had a rare day of sunshine, and so I did spend my day thinking about the soldiers that are out there, thinking about the show tonight, and thinking about all of the freedoms that we here in America have and maintain for, because of those who are willing to serve. America's military is all volunteer. We do not have a draft anymore. And so it is all volunteer. And so every single person that has gone in there has done so willingly, has signed their name on that dotted line on that contract. And I've got a little bit more with regard to that in a little bit. But first, I want to welcome all of you, my subscribers, my listeners, my watchers, those who are in the chats, those who are maybe just sitting and listening. Either way is perfectly fine. I thank you because, of course, without you, this wouldn't be a show. I'd be just talking to myself into the ethosphere. So thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time out of your week, potentially your day, your week, and coming here to listen to what I have to say. For those of you who are on my other platforms, who are on YouTube and on Facebook and Twitter, because I stream to all 3 of those, I still stream to them. However, if you really want to go where the action is in the chat, you have got to sign up for an account on Rumble. Go to Rumble, sign up for an account, come over to my channel, and once you sign in, you'll be able to jump in on the chat. And believe me, there's a party going on over there. Okay. So Rumble is the free speech alternative to YouTube. And even though I'll still stream to those 3 other locations, Rumble is where it's at. So if you want to join in, I know I don't get a lot of people off of Facebook or YouTube or even Twitter, but come over to the Rumble party, join in. There's a lot of great people, a lot of great patriots, and a lot of great catriots over there. Now, catriots, you might ask, if you've never watched the show before, Mark K is one of my favorite radio talk show hosts, and he streams live on Rumble and Facebook, Twitch. He does like a bunch of GETTR. He does a bunch of different ones. But I watch him on Rumble, exclusively on Rumble, and his followers are called Catriots. It's the Mark K Show out of Florida. But he also has a syndicated show on the radio as well, which is part of the stream. And he also does a podcast too. So, you should check him out. He's got some great stuff there in his store. He's got the original vaccine passport, which is the Constitution. I also have the Constitution as well. In fact, that's this right here If you want this is from one of my affiliates. This is Institute on the Constitution. It's a great little Saddleback leather Constitution. It's got some waterproof or water resistant pages, great stitching on the inside, and it comes with a 100-year guarantee for that. And you can go to constitution.whiskeymusings.online and go directly to the page where you can purchase it from the Institute on the Constitution. Also, you can check out my store for great gear, logoed gear, phrasing gear. You know, when I drink, I think is my phrase, my catchphrase, and you can go and take a look there. And that is store.whiskeymusings.online. And then also I have the National Concealed Carry Association, which is tonight's featured affiliate. So, if you honor and value our God-given right to self-defense by owning a firearm and would appreciate joining a community of like-minded individuals who welcome firearm owners of all experience levels, then you should consider joining the NCCA. The National Concealed Carry Association, NCCA, exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of Second Amendment advocates, offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors, and provide rock-bottom prices on some of the best selection of gear and accessories. NCCA members enjoy shopping thousands of products with zero dealer markup, unlimited free shipping, and keep more money in their pockets with zero credit card processing fees. The NCCA encourages safe, responsible concealed carry and celebrates those who are brave enough not only to protect themselves, but their families and their communities. If this sounds good to you, visit nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com to join today. As a special bonus, use my affiliate link, ncca.refr.cc/Rick02, RICK02, to receive a code for 10% off any purchase at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com. Once again, use my affiliate link, ncca.refr.cc/Rick, RICK02, and receive a code for 10% off your purchase at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com. Visit nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com, all lowercase, all one word, to find out more today. And I appreciate them for allowing me to be a brand ambassador and affiliate. All right. So tonight it's all about the armed forces of the United States. And like I said, it's an all-volunteer force. We do not require anyone to do a stint of service. Now, whether or not you agree with that or not doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is that we used to have a draft. We did have one for a while. In fact, you would know the Vietnam War era was the last draft that we had. But beyond that, we once we got rid of the draft, we stayed as an all-volunteer army. So everybody who has joined has done so of their own volition and their own free will. The other thing about our services is we are the best trained, the best equipped, and literally the best in the world as a part of our armed services. And so these young men and women who go in to service in these places and sacrifice not only the potential of their life, because of course anyone who signs that piece of paper basically signs a blank check to the United States government, up to and including, in an amount up to and including their life. This is a very serious thing. And I don't, unfortunately, I don't know if everybody really and truly understands when they go in. I know I had my reasons for going in. I had my my purpose for going in. And honestly, I've been asked, now that I've been gone, it's 32 years since I got out. And I've been asked over and over again, would I do it again? If I had the choice, would I go back in? And I answer unequivocally, absolutely, I would. Tonight, I've got a couple of things before we get into the celebration. I've got a couple things here. One is I'd like to read the poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson, A Nation's Strength. And I've read this poem before, in the past, but I want to read it again because of the fact that it really focuses on, in particular, the parts and pieces that make our nation strong. But I want you to listen to it and look at it and examine it from the angle of our American armed forces. So here it is, A Nation's Strength by William Ralph Emerson. What makes a nation's pillars high and its foundation strong? What makes it mighty to defy the foes that round it throng? It's not gold, its kingdoms grand go down in battle shock. Its shafts are laid on sinking sand, not on abiding rock. Is it the sword? Ask the red dust of empires passed away, the blood that turned their stones to rust, their glory to decay. And is it pride? Ah, that bright crown. Hang on, got the word block. Has seemed to nations sweet, but God has struck its luster down. It's in ashes at his feet. Not gold, but only men can make a people great and strong, men for who truth and honor's sake stand fast and suffer long. Brave men who work while others sleep, who dare while others fly. They build a nation's pillars deep and lift them to the sky. Now think about that. Think about that. When you think about the sacrifices that our men and women of our armed services make. They go off to fight in wars. They go off to do missions, battles, sometimes never knowing if they're going to return or not. But they do it because of the fact that they understand that there is a duty, an honor, and a sacrifice that honestly must be paid in order to keep our nation free. And it is that sacrifice, those men and women who stand forward in the crosshairs of the enemy of this country, who stand together, who are a nation's strength. All right. Now we're going to get to our next segment, of course, on this day in American history. And of course, on this day in American history, we read the daily piece from the American Patriots Almanac, which is fully about America, has daily writings on historical events and people who have helped to shape this nation in its wonderful and glorious place that we are in today. And this is for May 21st, the Angel of the Battlefield. When the Civil War broke out, former school teacher Clara Barton begged Union generals to let her go to the front lines to help the wounded. A battlefield is no place for a woman, they told her. Barton hounded them until they gave in. Loading a wagon with supplies, she headed to the front and nursed injured men as shells whistled overhead. At the Battle of Antietam in Maryland, a bullet tore through the sleeve of her dress, killing the wounded soldier she was tending. She kept risking her life at front lines across the South, from Fredericksburg to Charleston. The grateful soldiers began to call her the Angel of the battlefield. After the war, she directed a search for missing men and helped mark the graves of the nearly 13,000 Union soldiers who died at the Andersonville prison in Georgia. On a trip to Europe, she helped organize the relief efforts of the International Red Cross in the Franco-Prussian War. A decade later, on May 21st, 1881, Barton founded the American Red Cross. For the next 2 decades, she was on the scene delivering relief in times of national disaster and war, including the Johnstown flood of 1889, the 1898 explosion of the USS Maine. "I am with the wounded," she wrote to President McKinley from Cuba, and the Great Galveston Hurricane of 1900. She helped provide relief for victims of famine and war in Russia, the Balkans, Armenia, and Cuba. Barton served as president of the American Red Cross until the age of 82. She died in 1912, 8 years after her retirement. Her own words sum up her drive to aid others. "The door that nobody else will go in at seems always to swing open widely for me." And that is today's day in American history. Got a little story about the American Red Cross. They do a lot of good work for our soldiers. They do a lot of helpful activities for our soldiers. But before I get into that, I do want to say tonight I am drinking Redbreast, small pot still, Irish whiskey, 12 year. For you, just for Buddy in particular, because he tends to like that. All right. And of course, I am taking it from my American shot glass, America shot glass. Good stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. So, first things first, I've got to set off a tribute to all of the armed services. And I will be completely honest, I don't know if there is a song for the United States Space Force. So I apologize for not having their song. But if you'll notice in the background, I do have an American flag with the 6 armed forces represented here. Let me get my ugly mug out of the way here. And there they are. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song that I'm sure everybody's heard before, but this is the Armed Forces Medley. And it puts together the songs from the 5 services, with the exception of the Space Force. So we're going to go ahead and kick that off right now. And it starts off with the United States Army song. United States Navy. U.S. Marines. Coast Guard. And the U.S. Air Force. And that was the military medley for our U.S. Armed Forces. You know, a big advocate actually of the military is Gary Sinise, and when I was looking for that, for that medley, I actually pulled it from the Library of Congress, just to, you know, avoid any kind of copyright infringements. But if you go to YouTube and you can take a look around on YouTube, and you'll be able to see that that there is several celebrations that have been done. And I'm sorry, I sound a little distracted because I'm actually looking at my stream stats and they're not doing well. So I'm going to try and do something a little bit different, maybe slow it down or do something because I think I'm hitching. But anyway, so for whatever reason, and I don't know why, but I'm having some serious problems with the video. Man, this sucks. This is not supposed to have been happening. Okay, let's try one more thing here. Let me try this. Let's get that and see if that helps. Anyway, as I was saying, now I'm just sitting here watching the numbers go up. Ugh, this is horrible. I don't understand why it's doing this. I really don't. Just try this. Hopefully this will maybe clear some of it up. Don't know why it's having such a big deal. I just don't. Oh, now it's really having a problem. Okay, maybe that's stabilized some of this a bit. Don't understand why I'm having so much issues. It just doesn't make any sense because I've had I've really tried to not have issues like this, technical issues. But anyway, all right. Let me go ahead and delete this so that might be part of the problem. Let me get rid of that because that didn't start until I did that. Okay. So anyway, hopefully you guys can still hear me and everything is you know, you guys can still hear what's going on. Hopefully the video will start catching up. But anyway, so one of the things that, Gary Sinise does a special every year. He's a big advocate for the armed services. And yeah, that's going to bug me. I see this all the time. Go back to this and see if it'll clear it up now that that's gone. Okay, well, God, this is frustrating because I can see it happening. I can see it popping in the video. And I know that a lot of people don't want to see me hitching all over the place. So this just doesn't make any sense at all. Turning down video settings. Faster encoding preset. So it's telling me to use, so go with that. Let's just see what happens there. See if that helps at all. I'm watching. Yeah, the audio's okay, but the freeze framing is video. Yeah, I understand that. That's what I'm trying to clear up. And because I'm watching the frames getting skipped, the video frames getting skipped due to encoding lag, which doesn't make any sense because I've used the same settings all the time. This is horrible. And there's no way for me to necessarily change. I can't change anything while the video's going. So I'm just going to have to push on without it. All right. That's okay. I didn't really have a lot to show you anyway, so we'll just have to listen. But, so yeah, Gary Sinise, I mean, do yourself a favor. If you really want to see some spectacular, tributes, go to, YouTube and look up some of the armed services. Gary Sinise hosts them. He actually wrote a book called A Grateful American. And you should, check it out and read it. See if there is something, going on there where you can listen or read the book and get a really good understanding. He is a great advocate for the military and for the services. So one of the things that one of the things that I also wanted to bring out was with regards to, the military. When you join into the services, you have to take an oath, and it's pretty much the same across all of them. But I really want you to listen to the oath and listen to what these people are actually asking, or committing themselves to, I should say, what the government is asking from when you go into the services. You know what? I am going to try and cut down on, some of the things that I've got open right now. Let's see if maybe that'll help. Let's see if I can cut down on some of this stuff and maybe it'll back off the freeze framing a bit. But anyway, so the oath of enlistment, and I'm sorry, I am really disappointed in this. This is just horrible. But, okay. So the oath of enlistment, that is, and I got this out of military.com. This is the same oath of enlistment that I took, when I joined. The oath of enlistment itself seems to be across the board for everybody. And, it's really important to fully understand what it is that these individuals are swearing to when they go in. Okay, so thank you, buddy. I will do that. I get frustrated. I get frustrated sometimes. But anyway. All right, looks like maybe things are calming down. I got rid of enough stuff that the video seems to have gotten better. So anyway, so the oath of enlistment, you really need to understand. And for those of you that have military family members, maybe they've taken you through this, maybe not. But this is something that is I got to put this up for sure. This is from Mama Kitty's over on Rumble. Thank you very, very much. This is beautiful. Thank you for your service, she says, and all who have served. Yes, thank you. You know, I have to say I appreciate that. I do appreciate the sentiment. I do appreciate it a lot. But I think what you'll find, honestly, is that a lot of people will basically tell you that they did it for their reasons, they did it honorably, and they would do it again. This is just amazing. So anyway, now for the oath of enlistment, and it looks like the video is actually caught up with me now. So this is cool. So let me go ahead and see if we can go over to this. So here, military.com, the oath of enlistment for the enlisted. Now, for those of you who aren't military or don't understand military is broken up into two parts. You have the enlisted members who are the sergeants, the corporals, the lance corporals, the privates. They're non-commissioned officers, like the master sergeants and sergeants at arms and lance corporals and gunnery sergeants and all of those wonderful sergeant type words that you hear. I don't know the Navy off the top of my head, but I believe it's things like, petty officer, chief petty officer, stuff like that. Then you have the officer corps, which are your lieutenants, your captains, your majors, your colonels, your generals, your admirals. Those are the officers, and they have their own oath as well. It's called the oath of office. But I thought it'd be kind of neat to listen to the oath of enlistment, at least for those who have never served, or if you have served, it might be a good refresher. So I'm going to go through the oath of enlistment because that's what I was, and believe me, I still remember it. But it basically goes like this. I, and then you state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Now, I want to point this out. If you listen to that oath, there's a couple of key points, because I know that there's been a lot of people who've been talking about, well, what happens, if the military is, God forbid, we're under, I don't know, it's martial law or something like that, or the president orders the military to go after civilians. I want you to listen to what this actually states. It talks about, first of all, that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's this guy right here, the Constitution of the United States, against all enemies, foreign and domestic, meaning that anyone outside of our country and anyone in our country who is not following the Constitution, we as a enlisted person in the military, we swear an oath that states that we will protect, we will support and defend it, the Constitution. Okay. Now it does mention that they will obey the orders of the President of the United States. They will also obey the orders of the officers appointed over them. But here's the kicker. It's according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, for those of you that don't know, the UCMJ is basically the military version of our laws and the laws within your state or county or, federal laws, things like that, like the U.S. Code, as an example. Here in Washington, we have the Revised Code of Washington, the RCWs that are the laws. But the key here, though, is that you will not, under any circumstances, you are under no obligation to follow and obey the orders of the president or the officers appointed over you if their orders do not fall in line with regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So what this oath basically does is it leaves a little leeway for things because, again, keep in mind, the Constitution of the United States supersedes all of these. So if a enlisted officer, an enlisted man or woman is given an order that is contrary to the Constitution of the United States, based on this oath, they are not obligated to follow it, regardless of who gave it to them, whether it was the president or any of their officers. And this is really, really key. And this is something that a lot of people have been talking about in terms of when you have someone who gives you an order. So, gives you an order and it becomes questionable. It goes against the Constitution. This is why it is so important for all people, everyone, to read and understand the Constitution of the United States, especially our military members. They should be reading and understanding the Constitution as it was written and how it's supposed to be properly interpreted. Now, here's for the oath of office for the officers. I, and you state your name, have been appointed an officer in the whatever military branch you're in of the United States as indicated above in the grade of, and then you state your rank. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Where did I hear that before? That I will bear true faith and allegiance to same. Yep, heard that too. And that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I am about to enter. So help me God. Now, that oath of office is also very, very similar to the oath of office that our senators and congressmen and even the President of the United States takes upon entering their oath of office. And the key here is, again, it's supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And you're bearing true faith and allegiance to the same. You're bearing, according to that oath, you're bearing the true faith and allegiance to this Constitution of the United States as it's written and interpreted properly. That is what you are doing when you stand up and you take this oath. Now, the funny thing about this is a part of the separation papers. For those of you that are currently serving and you may happen to run across this video, I'm going to be honest with you. Check this out. Check it out. But when I left the service those many, many years ago, I was not given a piece of paper that said, I now rescind this oath. You swore an oath. I swore an oath. And this is part of the reason why I am standing here in front of all of you today by holding up the Constitution and saying that I am a patriot and I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I have sworn that oath and it has never been taken away from me. Because swearing an oath is something that you do for life. It's something that you say you will continue to do for the rest of your life. And that's one thing that these people do when they go in. Now, I'm going to tell you from my own experience, when I walked in and I swore that oath, I wasn't really thinking at the time. I was 18 years old, wasn't really following. I mean, I was doing it for my own purposes. Didn't really hit me until I started to realize what this service actually meant. And that's part of the reason why I have such a great respect for the services. Not only because I've served myself, and granted, I am not going to take away the fact that I have never served in a war zone situation. Okay. I was fortunate enough at the time that Desert Storm was going on that I wasn't the ones sent over to Iraq out of my graduating class from my training. 50% of my class immediately went to Iraq. I was one of the fortunate 50 that did not. But the key here is that every single person, regardless of what they did in the service, every single person has signed the exact same paperwork. And at the very heart, at least in the Army, you are at the very bottom what they call an 11 Bravo. You are an infantryman at your very core. It's your other job responsibility that may supersede that 11 Bravo designation. But everybody goes through the same basic training. Everybody learns how to fight. That's what the Army in particular, or any of our military forces, are for, is they are supposed to fight. Now, when you walk in and you take that oath, it may not mean much at 18, or even in some cases 17, if you get lucky enough to sign up with parental permission. But you need to understand what you are doing and what you are saying when you hold your right hand up and you say it. And I didn't actually come out of the service and really fully grasp until I started getting older what this actually meant in our current situation, in our current world. And I'm not talking about, taking up arms against the government of the United States. No, that is not the point. But the point is that many, many years ago, I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution. And that's why I will stand here in front of you and I pass on information about the Constitution that I understand and I know. This is part of why I do what I do here on this channel. Now, I also want to pull up in terms of the Army. This is a text that I grabbed from the Army's Soldiers Code of Conduct. I'm going to get rid of the background here. You're going to see my wonderful mountain landscape in the back. But the Soldiers Code of Conduct in the Army, and I'm sure that all of the services, all of the branches have something like this. But the Soldiers Code of Conduct, as I remember it, and I learned it in basic training, I had to remember it. But I wanted to pull up a couple of key points here. And a lot of this has to deal with if you are captured, if you become a prisoner of war. And that's where your code of conduct during imprisonment comes from. But again, I wanted to point out just a couple of these items. The first one being that I am an American fighting in the forces which guard my country and our way of life. I am prepared to give my life in their defense. Now think about that. Okay. As a military member, you entered and volunteered willingly to go in to the armed services for whatever the reason is. It doesn't matter. But the point is that you were there. You were there fighting in the forces which guard America and our way of life. And that's freedom. That's freedom and justice for everyone. And it's going to sound corny, but it's kind of the whole Superman thing. He was for truth, justice, and the American way. And we, as military personnel, are in the forces that guard our country and our way of life. It's a lot of respect we need to give to these people who have gone in and have decided to sign that contract to go and potentially lose your life for the country, being prepared to give their life in the defense of this country. And the last one is the last point that I want to bring up on this. It says, I will never forget that I am an American fighting for freedom, responsible for my actions, and dedicated to the principles which made my country free. I will trust in my God and the United States of America. Now think about that. Never forget that you are an American. Not that you're a Asian American or African American or Yugoslavian American. You are an American. When I went into the service, they told me, when I went into the Army, they told me flat out, there was only one color in the Army, and that was green. Army green. I know that the Marine Corps, because there is a young gentleman who is a friend of my son's who has joined up in the Marine Corps. And he told me essentially the same thing, was that the Marine Corps basically tells you that there are no skin colors. There are no skin tones. You are green. That's it. There's nothing else. And the Marines actually take it even a little bit farther, because they actually tell you that you no longer have a birthday when you join. The Marine Corps birthday is your birthday. And that happens to be November 10th. And they are the only service, I can actually say this, that they are the only service that once you come out, there's no such thing as an ex-Marine. You can call yourself a former Marine, but there is no such thing as an ex-Marine. They have a lot of respect for what they do in the services. And even though I'm an Army grunt, I can tell you that I have a lot of respect for what they do as well. Now, back to the Soldier's Code of Conduct. Responsible for my actions. That means that I need to take responsibility for who I am and what I do, because I represent the greatest country this planet has ever seen, the United States of America. And I need to be dedicated to the principles which made my country free. Those principles tie back to what is in here and what is part of the Declaration of Independence. It's this and the Declaration and the Federalist Papers and all of the principles that wrap up our country that we, at least in the Soldier's Code of Conduct for the Army, which made our country free. These are the principles that we need to be dedicated to as a part of our armed services. And this is incredible. Incredibly, if you think about all of this, this is an incredibly important proposition for all of these young men and women who have gone in and served. And today is an incredibly important day for everyone to celebrate. If you see a person in uniform and you're not afraid to do this, go up and thank them for their service. Thank them for being willing to step out on that line, to be out there when the wolves come, to be able to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And for those of you who are currently serving, you may not see us. You may not hear us. There are often times that, at least for me, when I'm walking through an airport or walking through a restaurant or something like that, I don't want to appear rude, but I'm going to tell you this, and I want you to take this to heart. There are those of us who are out here who appreciate every single thing that you do, who understand the importance of your volunteering to serve in our country's armed forces. And we also know the risk that you potentially take, that you are putting yourself on the line, and that you potentially could put yourself in harm's way to where you could potentially be the one who comes home draped under the flag. This is a very huge, this is a huge responsibility, and there should be absolutely no one in this country who does not respect that. And if you're one of those people who don't respect it, then I throw out this challenge to you. Spend 1 full week in their boots. Do the things that they do. Listen to the things that they say and how they act, and understand what freedom in this country actually means. Because without those people who are standing in that line to protect this country from the enemy, whoever the enemy actually is, without those people, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we enjoy. We wouldn't have the ability to enjoy the sunshiny day that we don't get very often here in the Northwest in springtime. We wouldn't have the opportunity to complain about the fact that our second car that we have isn't running. These people sacrifice. They go away to far off distant lands, sometimes on missions where they can't even tell anybody where they're going or what they're doing or where they are. They're out of contact with their loved ones. We send an email. We make a phone call. Some of these people who are serving are off in foreign lands and can't even do that for operational security, because it not only puts them at risk, but it puts their brothers and sisters who are at that same location at risk of potentially being discovered and possibly coming under fire. It's the moms and the dads who don't wear the uniform, but are still serving back here at home. It's those people as well who we should also thank, because they are willing to give up their loved one to go on this important mission, regardless of what happens. I don't know how many people or how many stories you could pull from places where, from people who have been off on deployments when their child was born. Okay, I have 2 kids. I was there, luckily, for both of them. And it is an amazing sight. It is an amazing experience. And I would never give that up in a million years. But I can also tell you that there are literally thousands of people who serve in our armed forces who have never had that experience, because they have gone on a higher mission, and that is to protect our freedoms. These people deserve our gratitude across the board. And when they decide to separate from the service, or don't, they still should be at the top of the list for everything. Because these people sacrifice so much to do a noble job and a noble mission. They are incredible. They are what make this country move forward and what keeps our country great and strong. And if we as the public back here behind the front lines could take just a small amount of that honor, that dignity, that responsibility into our own hearts and lives, and understand that regardless of all America's issues that we have, she is still the greatest country this world has ever seen. And we owe that to not only the service members who are serving today, but the history of service members who have consistently served throughout history to provide us with the great country that we now have. And it is important for us, especially us older people and even the younger ones coming along, to understand that importance and to carry it on for future generations. We cannot let this country tear itself apart. We have to honor those who have spent their lives for the ideals that we are after, for the ideals that we are striving for as Americans. This is the mission for every single American who is at home. And we need to thank those who serve in uniform, providing us the opportunity to be able to strive for that, shall we say, perfect union. This is what Armed Forces Day is about, is celebrating the fact that these people have given up a great deal of their lives and their comforts to be able to allow us the opportunity to do the things that we do. So I urge you, it doesn't matter if it's Armed Forces Day or not, I urge you, just take a moment. If you see a soldier or an airman or a seaman or a Marine, take the moment to go up and at least shake their hand and thank them for their service. We need to give them the most support that we possibly can. We need to make sure that those people understand that they're the best of us because they're willing to lay down their lives in defense of what we talk about. And that's my final Whiskey Musings thought for this evening. I actually have a flag. I've got a 5x9 flag on my flagpole that only flies on special occasions. And she's flying today for Armed Forces Day. Anyway, if you like the show, please do me a favor, subscribe. Especially come over to Rumble and subscribe. It's Rumble is the free speech alternative to YouTube. It's absolutely great. I am still working on, or I'm going to be working on a Memorial Day tribute. So stay tuned for that one. That one is, you can go back and take a look. I've done a couple other specials for that. And, I appreciate all of you coming out and, dealing with some of the issues that the technical issues that I'm dealing with. I'm going to have to work on those during the week. So hopefully Wednesday, I won't have those kinds of problems again. We'll see you next time on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. And you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Good night, everybody.